You straight up cuckooed that dude, bro. Oh my God.
You've got all your Charger gear on because
I look good. I got big energy every day. Let's go!
And he is dicked.
Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
That's right.
You have to love what you're seeing on tape if you're a Chargers fan, especially for the future with Justin
Herbert on the move and throws and touchdown.
Players, coaches, staff, fans, together we can create something truly special.
Stay tuned for some good content.
Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Charger Chat. I'm your co-host, Wool Dog, sitting with my buddies, Kev, Hug, and Duggan.
What the f*** is up, guys?
Oh, all right off the bat, dropping F-bombs.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Kyle, the coach, Duggan, what do you have to say about that?
I got nothing. What's up, guys?
Got nothing. All right. Well, welcome to another Friday edition episode, folks. We've got some great stuff lined up for you today. Super awesome interview. Kyle's got some classroom business to go over, but first and foremost, we want to talk about a little interview that happened on the Rich Eisen Show. Our own bearded brother, Keenan Allen, was on there, and boy, what an awesome interview he had over there. I mean, I love listening to Rich Eisen and the interviews that he has with some of the past players like Sean Merriman and any of the other previous Charger players, but Keenan Allen was also pretty special. Rich Eisen talked to Keenan Allen and asked how things were going, and Keenan said, just happy with the coaching staff and how they restructured the whole thing. The atmosphere was great at OTAs and minicamp.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. When he talked about it too, he was like, in his voice, you could tell that he was so pumped. You know what I mean? Like, there's this new exciting thing going on. And to hear that while also seeing all the photos, seeing all the videos of everyone having a great time at practice, that's really awesome to hear. And I like Rich Eisen because he makes these interviews, they're not like interviews, they're more conversational.
Right.
So
exactly.
he really gets like stuff out of them. You know what I mean? And he was very candid. So it was really nice to hear that.
Right. I think that's what you get that honest answer. You know, because it's just a chill. Yeah. We're just having a conversation.
It's just like, you just feel lied to, though. Like, why he never complained about the way that things were before. I guess you don't know what you have until you got something better type of thing. But yeah, you never heard any negative like things about Coach Lynn and the way that things were run and structured and Gus Bradley's defense. And now all of a sudden it's all under fire from the players. Kind of odd.
Well, you can't do that when they're still there. Like,
no, you can't speak your mind.
No, you're right. Exactly. You can't. You're going to get fired.
Right.
But it's like, it just also makes it like, okay, well, these interviews are just kind of like pointless. They're not telling us the truth. They're just going through the motions sometimes.
I mean, doesn't it feel a little different? Like now we're actually getting like, it's almost like they took off like the duct tape off these players and off the coaches.
Because they're saying good stuff.
Right.
And they're not
like, going to say any of the negatives. Exactly my point.
But they're going in a more detail than we ever heard before. Like it's just different.
Exactly.
Or we're getting more coverage. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it feels different.
Right. I think that's the point is like, yes, they're saying good things, but they're actually going into detail as opposed to in the past, if there was ever talk about Lynn or Gus Bradley, it was just like, it was very generic. Like, yeah, things feel good. Or, you know, whatever, just like a generic, things are fine. Now,
one week at a time.
Right. Now, it just feels like players are at least going into specifics as far as to like, this is good, and I'm going to tell you why this is good.
Well, and they're throwing shade at the old regime. It's all, rightfully so, it's all a comparison right now because you had that, and now you have this. So that's what everyone wants to know is what's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of what's different, that's what Rich Eisen asked Keenan Allen next. And Keenan Allen said the confidence in the way that the coach and the way that they talk to us, I think it's more friendly, more player friendly. I think we have a better organized situation. So, I mean, that just sounds like, hey, they're talking to me like I'm a human being and not like,
like not be here. Because you remember the Hard Knocks, like those coaches were reaming those players. It was like they were sitting there like getting their asses chewed out.
It was tough love.
They're still going to get that.
Right.
Oh, for sure. But they're starting on a different playing field.
I don't know. Keenan was getting he was getting praised the whole time. Like, even with the old regime, it's like, you see how Keenan blocks? You see how he runs his routes? You see how great he catches?
Sure.
You see the way that he recovers? Like, that's like those superstars are going to get that no matter what.
But what do you think?
But there's something different that means. It's not just that blowing smoke stuff.
Right.
He can see something else that's different.
But what he said, the sentence, I think we have a better organized situation. What does that mean? That's not personality. That's because I know
like
that
we
they're
have a
splitting
game plan.
up. They're splitting up practices. They're getting more reps. That's what I've heard how they're running their practices. So, it sounds like an overall, because that's not personality related. That is, I think we have a better organized situation,
right?
Which is telling.
Hopefully,
hopefully that's the case. It feels like, this is all from an outside perspective, so we don't know exactly what was being said in camp or anything like that. But it feels like they just treated the players like, I'm not going to treat you like Austin Eckler. I'm going to treat you as a running back. And that's how I'm going to communicate with you. As opposed to Brandon Staley, who's like, I'm going to talk to you like you're Austin Eckler, and I'm going to ask you very specific things about you as far as like what's going on in your life or what it is specifically I like about what you do, what I think you need to work on specifically. So again, that's an outside perspective of not knowing what exactly was being said, but that's just what it feels based off of his answer here. It's like they're talking to me, they're speaking my language, as opposed to, and we've talked about that in the past, about Brandon Staley being a younger coach and Anthony Lynn being more old school. Brandon Staley's talking to these guys in a more understandable language, I guess, for lack of a better word, as far as like communicating. It's communication. And if you have a coach that's communicating something that you either don't understand or don't agree with, then how well are you going to perform?
Sure.
Right.
So I think that's the takeaway so far. But then Eisen asked about an example. Keenan Allen said, I can't give you an exact example, but every time Brandon Staley talks, I'm all ears. He has my attention. He has my energy. Just the way he talks, his charisma, and the way he comes off, he's a leader.
That's cool.
So there you go.
There's something unexplainable about people with leadership qualities. Like you're just around him and you're like, I don't know what it is, but I'm ready to listen to what he has to say. And so that's cool. Cause a lot of the times you can't put your finger on what it is. But he's just a leader. That's cool to hear from Keenan.
Big time. Yeah. I mean, Keenan, who will probably end up being Keenan's been a captain for the team before, right? So great to have that from what will inevitably be a team captain.
Yeah.
And then his last question, did you know Staley was a quarterback? And Keenan Allen said, you can tell he's a defensive coordinator for a reason. He knows the offense. He's not stubborn in his play calls. He knows what can be beat within his system, and he knows how to stop it because he knows the offense.
The key word here is stubborn.
Stubborn. I know. That's
this keeps circling around to our old defensive coordinator a little bit. Like that seems to be the word best describing Gus Bradley and his defensive ideas of just like, we're going to lock down, do this no matter what. And even the offensive guys are talking about it. So this must have been a fairly decent sized problem for all the players to really start weighing in on some of this stuff.
Yeah, because I think the stubbornness wasn't just Gus Bradley. I think the stubbornness we could all feel came from Lynn as well, as far as like, just the constant repetitive plays and constantly pushing the run when we could not get the run going. It was just like, come on, man, like adapt and overcome. Don't just keep beating your head against the wall and expecting something different to happen. Like, that's what I take away from that quote. Because I don't think it's just specifically Gus Bradley, but anybody wanting to check it out, look up Rich Eisen on YouTube or, any other method of podcast listening. Because it's a great interview with Keenan Allen.
Listen.
Yeah, great listen. I mean, we're hype enough as it is this offseason from everything we've seen from Chargers social media. Like, this just gets you up. That gets you up that one more notch, baby. That's what we're talking about. So, excellent. All right, folks. Well, as we mentioned, we've got a killer interview for this week. One that I've not been necessarily expecting to have on the Charger Chat podcast, but I welcome it with open arms because it just sounds amazing.
Yeah, so we got Chris Hayre from the Chargers podcast. You've heard him. You've listened to him. I reached out and he said yes, and we had a great conversation. And he's an awesome guy, and great insight. So let's check it out.
Let's take it over to Chris Hayre.
Booyah, you doing good?
Your ass mine. When it ends, you can have it back.
Feels good. Talk to some Charger fans.
Man, are we lucky to have the one and only All right, guys, we are here with another Bolt Insight, and oh my God, are we excited to have the one and only Chris Hayre on with us. So, all right, well, let's just get into it right off the bat. Like, I just wanted to compliment you because we've been fans for a really long time, and as soon as kind of you and Haley came on board, I felt like the content was just got better and better, and we can learn more and more. So, thank you for that.
Man, no, it's our pleasure. I mean, you guys, it's cool to see podcasts outside of like the Chargers in-house and just seeing how that's grown. And you're certainly part of that. And we've got to do a lot of really cool things and kind of think outside the box with some of our content. And, the goal is to just keep it rolling because the engagement, especially this off season with Justin Herbert in the fold and a new head coach, kind of a new culture as we get into SoFi Stadium with hopefully a full capacity for the 2021 season, man, there's a lot to look forward to if you're a Chargers fan for sure.
Oh, we're so excited. It's so funny because like in the last, since Herbert came on board, all these podcasts started popping up, and then all the podcasts, you'd think there'd be like this competition, like we want the views, we want to listen, but we're all like coming together. It's like this family's built, it's just a really cool vibe, and we're really excited about it. But enough of me kissing your ass. I wanted to ask you, how did you get started with the Chargers? Like you mentioned on one of your podcasts that you worked at NFL Network. Like what was your path getting to the Chargers?
Man, my path is pretty wild. So I've worked in sports for 20 years, just over 20 years now. I started as a board operator during college at a sports radio station in Washington, D.C. So I want to say my first job was picking up pizzas for Tony Kornheiser, the Tony Kornheiser
snap.
Show, which was also, it's my freshman year of college. So I did a lot with the radio station there, produced some weekend shows, contributed to the then Washington Redskins tailgate show. I grew up in the DC area, so I was a diehard Washington fan. I went to every game as a kid at RFK Stadium. So I got my start there. Actually worked for the team for a couple of years before I moved out to LA.
Oh, cool.
And I worked for the Lakers for 9 years, but I was doing sponsorships. I was director of sponsorships there. It was an awesome experience. Got to be there for 9 of Kobe's last 10 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Witnessed 2 championships. Yeah, it was, I wouldn't trade the experience for the world, but I wanted to get back to what I love to do. And that's talking ball and the media side. So I left sales. I left the Lakers in 2015. I actually went to Northwestern for a year to get my master's in journalism. So I was in Chicago for a year, came back before the Chargers moved to Los Angeles. And my goal was to work in the NFL in LA. And it worked out when the team moved up here. So in addition to working with the Chargers, I also work at KCBS and KCAL 9 here in Los Angeles, doing some stuff directly with the Chargers and also some cool kind of human interest piece and other different things outside of football.
That's so awesome, man. Yeah, and you're doing a great job. So keep it up. We appreciate all your awesome content. Well, let's just kind of get into the more specific Charger stuff. Like last year was absolutely crazy. Were we going to have a season? Were we not going to have a season? Like, what was that like for you? And I imagine it's much harder doing your job when you can't actually be in front of somebody and talking to them. And what was it? Not what Herbert was like the biggest part of the year for us last year. What was it not like? Not being able to see him in person at some of those away games and interact with him. That must have been crazy.
The whole year was just wild because, I still haven't been in the Chargers office. It's been like 15 months. So I've been doing everything that you see from a podcast perspective and video perspective. I have a kind of a home studio set up. So I'm able to go to the practices outside. But to your point, Justin was drafted. We're doing our draft party from home. That was right at the beginning of the pandemic where no one really understood or knew what was going on, how things were going to shake out. So to not have that connection with the players, I feel for, sometimes with beat writers, that's how you get your angles. That's how you get your creativity when you can actually get in a locker room, talk to these guys and get original ideas. So it's been tough, but I think everybody's been able to adjust. And being out at camp last week, it was the first time, we didn't have to wear our masks, and Drew Brees was out there, and you're kind of seeing everybody kind of get back to normal again. So the games were strange. I was at all the games at SoFi Stadium. Not having fans at that place, you don't really know what to expect anyway in a new place. But this year's going to be completely different because the vibe's going to be, the place is super loud because the sound system and everything. But having fans in there is going to make a world of difference. It felt like almost like a glorified scrimmage. Yeah. In many respects, especially like that first game against the Chiefs. It was just weird because, you're scoring touchdowns and the video board's going off. And it was actually kind of like a cool preseason for like game entertainment to kind of figure things out and maybe work out some kinks. But it was definitely strange. I mentioned to you offline at the end of April, we did a season ticket member event there. And I'm sure some of your listeners were there, and it was pretty cool. We had like 6 different sessions. It was about like 10% capacity. It felt like that 90 minutes out pregame buzz. Yeah. Justin Herbert was there. Coach Staley, Tom Telesco, Austin gave this crazy awesome speech. Joshua Kelly. So it was a really kind of a neat day to get a preview of what SoFi Stadium is going to be like, and obviously we can't wait for week 2 against the Cowboys.
I know we're so excited, and me and my brother, we just got our season tickets. We were season ticket holders a long time ago at the queue, and we're like, all right, we got to do this. It's now or never. We got to get our tickets. So we're pumped to get in there and get loud for the team. But going off like a little bit of like seeing, fans in the stadium, the Herbert effect has been so unique, I think, to the fan base, kind of, just the team, everything in general. The ship changed courses a little bit when we got him. So what has that done? What have you seen the effects of that, and what do you think that's going to do for this fan base? And more season tickets are being bought, like all that kind of stuff.
He's a special person. It's very rare to go from Phillip Rivers to we can go back, right? It's very rare to go from Drew Brees to Phillip Rivers to now Justin Herbert.
Embarrassment of riches.
I think that was it really is. And it was one of those things where last year at this time, we had no idea what we were getting in Justin Herbert. You didn't know if it was going to be Tua or Justin. That was the big kind of off-season storyline. Like, what are the Chargers going to do at 6? Are they going to try to get their franchise guy? Is it going to be Tua? Is it going to be Justin? Do you get Isaiah Simmons instead and wait and get a guy like Jordan Love? There's so many questions. And just the way the season kind of panned out, like with him going in week 2, just imagine this kid has no off-season program in a year unlike any other on earth, right? Where you can't get on the grass with your teammates, learning a playbook virtually, not getting really any of the first team reps during training camp, not having a preseason. All these things against him, right? He comes in first drive of the game, I think 8 plays, 69 yards, touchdown, and he didn't look back from there. So I think there's obviously optimism and excitement going into year 2 based on what he did last year. Now, you have a new coaching staff, a new offense. It seems like it's an offense that they're going to build around him, but at the same time, it can be as complicated as you want it to be. There's a lot of bells and whistles with this offense. So seeing what he does in year 2, having a full off season with this staff, having that chemistry with Keenan and Mike that he was able to establish, and also some of these guys who we didn't really know, frankly, last year, and Tyron Johnson and Jalen Guyton and Donald Parham, getting Jared Cook into the fold, getting a full season out of Austin Eckler, which we didn't get last year. Yeah. The offensive line, that was the big thing where he was able to make a lot of plays, kind of improvising and creating. And to get a guy like Corey Linsley in here and Rashawn Slater, Matt Filer, Ode Ibushi, these are guys that I think are going to help Justin in the passing game, but also opening up holes for these running backs to get Justin in more manageable positions on third down or in the red zone. So I say this with like caution because everybody at this time of year can say something positive about their team. Sure. Because everybody's 0-0. It's mini camp. There's a lot to be excited about. I'm sure in Denver, They're raving about all the pieces they have. The quarterback's a little bit of a question mark there, but they have a pretty complete team. We know what the Chiefs are. The Raiders, offensively, they were good last year. We'll see what they do with Gus and company over there defensively. You still got the Bills, the Ravens. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the AFC. So the Chargers aren't the only ones who are excited and optimistic, but it's hard not to have a little bit of optimism coming into this year, especially with number 10 under center.
Yeah, 100%. And then another reason for optimism, and we're seeing it all over social media now, is like one of the biggest stories has been Brandon Staley and him coming in and his culture and what he wants to do. And I've only seen his press conference and every time he does interview, and then this most recent, him being mic'd up at practice. And I'm ready to run through a wall for this guy. I just only seen him on my computer and my phone. I'm ready to run through a wall. What is he like?
Yeah, Coach, the first thing that kind of strikes me with him is just his authenticity and his passion, how much he loves football. And, you've heard the McVay 2.0 comparisons, the McVay of defense. He has a plan for everything he wants to accomplish. And I imagine that's what Tom Telesco and John Spano saw in that interview. I think a lot of people thought, all right, Justin Herbert, you get an offensive minded coach, you pair them together and, you run with it. The thing about Coach Staley, he's a defensive mind. He played the position of quarterback. He's had this kind of meteoric rise from Chicago to Denver to the Rams. And he's got so much to work with. When you talk about the rating offensive rookie of the year, what they did with the offensive line, all the weapons, all the skill position players, and then obviously the defense, all these pieces that I'm really excited to see play together. And independent of Coach Staley and the coaching staff, we haven't seen Derwin and Nas play together. What's that going to look like in Coach Staley's system? Drew Tranquill and Kenneth Murray. I mean, those are two guys that I was really excited to see in 2020 who didn't get the opportunity to. Drew getting hurt in week one. Yeah. And then just having a 100% Joey Bosa and a 100% Derwin James on the field at the same time, and what Coach Staley is going to be able to do there. But his authenticity, man, like you can feel it in the press conferences, the way he answers questions, how detailed he is without giving away exactly what he wants to accomplish. He really gives you great insight into who he thinks the Chargers are and where they're going to go. And I think it's been really refreshing.
Yeah. And one of the more interesting things, just the really simple things that leaders do well is like, just get your attention. And what he does when he talks to you guys and he says your first name before he answers your question, he's like, that's a great question, Chris. And he does that for everyone. And it just seems so easy to not do that kind of things. Like those details really matter. No question. And I think that's what I'm talking about in terms of just it comes across very like, this is authentic. This is who he is. I mean, he loves football. He loves to talk football. So if you ask him a question, he's not going to give you a couple sentences and move on. Like he's going to go detailed, but he's going to go detailed because he loves it so much. I mean, he's given us like NBA analogies, talking about wide receivers and just talking about life and kind of the stuff that he's gone through and how that translates to the football field. It's been really fun for me because I love, I love reading books on coaches, like from Parcells to Bill Walsh, and everybody has like a different story, how they came up, how they were kind of raised to be a coach. And we've been really fortunate to kind of get a front seat to Coach Staley and how he became a coach and his rise to the NFL, and then now being the head coach of the LA Chargers. Yeah, it's so exciting. And like knowing what we had last year with Coach Lynn and knowing now what we have with him, or at least what we expect to have, what do you think is going to be one of the biggest impacts he has on the team? Just right off the bat, this is going to be a new thing that he's going to bring to this team.
It's a good question. And I'll say this, like Coach Lynn is an amazing guy and he's a hell of a coach. And I wish him all the luck in Detroit because I think he was a great OC in Buffalo, and I'm really I'm excited and I'm gonna be rooting for him from afar to see what he does with golf in Detroit. I think it's just going to be it's defensively is what I'm looking at. It's like we keep hearing like kind of using personnel packages as a weapon, right? Whether that's on offense or defense, putting guys in positions to do what they do best. And I think you've heard a lot of the guys on defense talk about that from Kenneth Murray and Drew Tranquill. Just put guys in a position to do what they're really, really good at. Yeah. So Kenneth Murray, for instance, the Chargers' worst game of the year by far was Kenneth Murray's best game by far against the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like if you saw the effort, the passion he played with, despite knowing that game was over,
he didn't
give up. No, he didn't. So it remains to be seen kind of what this team looks like and how it's going to go. But I do think it's going to be pretty cool to see what they do with Justin, how they utilize his strengths and how it fits into this New Orleans offense with the sprinkle of Las Vegas's running game and San Francisco's running game. And then defensively, how they use guys like Derwin James and Joey Bosa and Murray. And frankly, Nas, I'm really excited about Nas Adderley this year. I think if they could put him in a position to where he can kind of move and get the ball, Asante Samuel, we get some opportunistic defensive backs, putting them in a position to get the ball and get it back to the offense.
Yeah, it's exciting. And you saw what his defense did last year in LA for the Rams. So I think we have the players, we have those pieces that he could definitely use and, be a chess master and put them on the right places and make those mismatches. So we're really excited for him. So let's kind of wrap it up with this. My last question is kind of like the social media and what you guys are doing over there is absolutely insane. Like the social media team, like the posts, like everything seems like it's going viral. So like, what do you guys have in store for us this year? We're all so excited. We're every time I get a notification Chargers posted something, I'm like, all right, let's go. What do we got now? So what do you guys got going for us this upcoming year?
Man, listen, they'll have something. That's the beauty. Those guys are so creative over there. I'm doing more of our podcasts and editorial and some video. There's a lot of funny, creative people that come up with those memes.
Yeah.
And, for the schedule release. So good. Believe me, there's no shortage of ideas over there. So I'm sure that they'll keep you entertained over these next 5 weeks when it's a little quiet. And then I'm sure they'll ramp it right back up come training camp.
Well, what about the podcast side? What do you guys got coming for us in terms of the interviews? Because that's our daily weekly listening. We're ready for you guys to drop something.
I appreciate it, man. We're going to be keeping it rolling every Thursday. I think we're going to take the 4th of July, that week off. But other than that, I'm going to try to get some interviews with folks from Kansas City and Vegas and Denver, kind of know your rivals, kind of see what's going on in those respective cities, continue to keep you updated on the team. And we got some fun things cooking this fall with Chargers Weekly. I'm sure we'll probably announce it in a little bit, but I'm excited about just our podcast network in general. Haley's got Playmakers. We have our Final Drive podcast that we're going to do on Mondays, kind of recapping the game. Trying to get some cool guests on that. Puro Chargers with Francisco Pinto and Adrian Garcia Marquez. Those guys are the best. They're a lot of fun. So the network is going to get cranked up, especially during the season. We'll have some frequency there. And, our film rooms, we're going to have no shortage of content. That's for sure. And I can't wait for training camp. Like I want this break to just relax and recharge the batteries, but I can't wait to get back out there and start looking at some of these storylines and draft picks and players that we really haven't seen much of as we get into preseason, 3 preseason games this year, and then 17 regular season games. Man, it's crazy.
All right, well, we're so excited for all of it, and we're pumped. Hopefully, run into you at some point during one of these SoFi games, and yeah, man,
let me know.
No, we will. We're going to be there. We already got our schedule planned, so I'll hit you up in the DMs.
But what games are you going to?
We're going to be at the home opener for sure. We're going to be at the Dallas game, and then we're going to sprinkle it in. I'm bringing my 6-year-old to the Vikings game, his first NFL game. So we're gonna just spread it out. We're going to enjoy it. It's hard for some of us because we travel a lot, but we're coming, man. We're getting those frequent flyer miles, and we're going to be ready to rock.
I love it, man. Please say hi when you come. If you come to camp, please say hi. And it was a pleasure being with you.
Thank you so much for your time, man. It was truly an honor. So we really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
No doubt, man.
Dude, that was so awesome. Chris Hayre, thank you so much for stopping by and talking with Kev. That was just an awesome interview, dude. We listen to you all the time. And just getting your perspective from the inside is awesome, dude. Like, I can't imagine what it was like watching a game without any fans. Like, they would always pipe in the audience for those watching at home, and that's all we could do was watch from home. So I cannot imagine what it was like just watching games in that, like, not total silence, obviously, but I'm no doubt you could hear what the guys are saying on the field, and I'm sure you heard your fair share of obscenities. But also reiterating that Staley's got a plan. Like, that's the feeling that we all have right now, is that Staley's got something cooking. He knows what to do, and I think that's the difference between what happened last year and what we have to look forward to. Is like, every offseason we've got the talent, we're ready to go. We've got guys in place, and we appear to have, like, we've got the team, we've got the goods, let's make it happen. But then inevitably throughout the season, somebody goes down, we lose somebody, and knock on wood, that doesn't happen this year. But it felt like, okay, well, the game plan now, there was no game plan. We didn't know who to put into what position. And so to know that Staley's got a plan and he's planning to put players in the positions where they're going to excel, and to know what to do should something happen, like to have those backup plans. I mean, I think if anybody's got that, Staley conveys that he is ready for those situations should they happen. So just awesome to hear everything about Staley. And dude, good luck, Chris Hayre, on knowing your rivals, man. You're a stronger man than I am, Chris Hayre. Good luck to you on that. So excellent. All right. Well, thank you again. And now it's time to look on over to the Coach's Classroom. Here we go. All right, folks. Welcome back to another edition of Coach's Classroom. Coach is going to take a look at a different play, not the Chargers that we've grown to know and love, but what we have to look forward to with the Rams when Staley was the defensive coordinator for the Rams. Now, as before we get into this, we got a pop quiz for Hug and Duggan. Huggan, what do you see? What does this tell you, this formation?
This appears to be a cover 4, but I'm not sure if they're going to stay in it. Is that right?
You never know. Pre-snap, we did look at pre-snap adjustments.
You never know.
Nice.
They're showing cover 4. Don't know where we're going to go.
Okay.
Why do you think it's cover 4, Kevin? Why don't you explain?
Because you got the 2 cornerbacks outside the box and then the 2 high safeties.
Nice. Yeah, so corners are both off and say 2 high safeties. Good. Okay, well, let's get into Coach's Classroom. That was a good recap, good review. Kev, pass your pop quiz.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there was two clips I want to look at this week. Again, I'm just going through and looking at some of the old Rams defense. This is obviously Coach Staley's philosophy, what he's going to bring over. And there was a couple of things. We all saw Joey Bosa line up. And we talked about this in our Coach's Corner on Wednesday. But what you can see here is we're going to look a little bit at this pass rush turning into pass coverage, and not really knowing where it's coming from. So like Kevin said, initially off the bat, you do see 2 high safeties. You have your 2 high safeties. They're back here deeper than even normal. Usually our 2 safeties will be at 8 to 10 yards. Right now they're at about 11 to 12. So they're really getting out of there. Your corners also are off pretty far here off the ball. They're at 5 to 6 yards off the ball. So it looks like a pretty conservative, soft coverage. An interesting look, and that's what's going to be fun, is when you just look at this, it's not obvious. And I saw some clips from Chargers media team with Drew Brees was there, and he was looking at the defense like, I can't figure out what position is where. And then you saw Lombardi like, yeah, if you figure it out, let me know, because it's just all over the place. So like traditionally, on our defense last year, you would see the 4 guys with their hands in the ground, right? So you kind of knew who the 4 defensive linemen were. But now look, in the box here, there's no linebackers.
Right.
They walked out for this bunch, this 3 receiver set. They walked the 1 middle linebacker out, and then they have their other backer up here on the line of scrimmage. So it just looks like, to me, it looks like a disorganized, jumbled mess.
Right.
If I was offensive play caller, it's like, what the hell? Who's going where? What's going to happen? So that's what's fun to see right off the bat when we look at this and it pops up. Then we're going to see things develop. What I want you to look at, and the reason I wanted to look at this play in particular, is this over here is Leonard Floyd, their all-star, became their big-time pass rusher. And so this is who you're paying to get after the quarterback, specifically in these big playoff games. So as the ball comes to snap, let's watch a little bit of how his reaction and what his responsibilities turn into. So you see the pre-snap motion.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron's trying to figure out too what's going on, see if we're in zone or man. It appears it is zone based on no one running all the way across with Devontae Adams. Now at the snap, you can see their pass rusher. This would be like our Joey Bosa type, that edge rusher. He now has dropped into coverage. And to put everyone's mind at ease a little bit with Joey Bosa dropping into coverage, he's never going to be running down the field one-on-one with the tight end. He's never going to be matched up in man-to-man coverage. Right.
That sounds like a problem.
It's always going to be short underneath zones. So in this specifically, he's looking for this running back, it appears. He's looking for the running back coming out of the backfield. See how his eyes are kind of spied right here looking through the running back to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to sit here and snug up on the running back, which is nice. You don't have to take a linebacker and make him get out there. You can get the linebacker dropped into coverage underneath this seam route, and he can sit and watch for anything he does. Rice cakes, still getting me.
Kyle almost died a little earlier on some crackers, so just let everyone know.
Yeah. So moving on. Now watching as the play develops, this is going to be you're as a quarterback, you're not thinking to see Joey Bosa sitting in coverage, right? So it could potentially lead to opportunities for interceptions, because especially if he gets more comfortable and he's used to doing this, he drops out a little bit more underneath this hook, and that could turn into a pick six really quick for Joey, which is exciting and fun and a different change of pace.
Right.
So they obviously complete the pass, but I just wanted to show anytime a Joey Bosa drop, a pass rusher drop, when they try to add in those wrinkles, it's not going to be big time running down the field. It's going to be little hook to curl, real close to the line of scrimmage, looking for back to leak or a tight end just to post up real quick at 5 yards. So don't get scared at an idea of Joey Bosa dropping into coverage. Any questions, guys?
Well, in those situations, they've also referenced Uchenna Nwosu to be that Leonard Floyd type as well. I feel like if we are going to see Joey do that drop into coverage, it's going to be a rare situation, something that would catch the offense off guard. I feel like we'll probably still see Joey make the same type of plays that we've seen him do in the past.
He's going after the quarterback. That's what you pay him to do, but this throws people off.
Right.
It does. It adds a little wrinkle. And for the most part, like you said, it'll be the Uchennas or the Kyler Fackrell, those guys that we brought into play outside linebacker specifically, that have a little bit more of that skill set. But if Joey is going to be dropping, it'll be in those types of situations. They're just little wrinkles, add something in. So this next play that I wanted to look at, so right off the bat, you see 7 guys in the box. So they're loading up on the box here. So you see this, now you have a little bit more of a traditional look. We have 7 guys in the box. So this is another fun wrinkle of the 3-4 defense, because 3-4 is 7 guys and they're all here. These are your 3 defensive linemen with their hand in the ground. These are your 2 outside linebackers, and then your 2 inside linebackers. So they obviously have all their guys loaded up in the box. So a lot of people get worried, 3-4, you're going to lighten the box. It's not going to be able to play against these big, heavy run teams. You have numbers. It's the same numbers. When they go heavy in the box, you can do the same thing and mirror it. It's just a different type of body that you're doing it with. So as we watch this play start to develop, just watch how the 7 guys in the box and how it really adjusts. I'll start with just looking at the box, and then we'll go look at some of the coverage stuff over the top, which is another aspect that I think is going to be fun to watch in Staley's defense. So right here, we see the 7 guys. We don't know who's going to drop, who's going to rush, right? We just saw these guys dropping out into coverage. And now you can see they're going to bring 5 pass rushers. They're all coming. No one's dropping out into coverage, right? So you have these rules in place that allow you opportunities to take chances. So this guy here playing outside linebacker right here, playing outside linebacker on this edge, he is responsible to spy this tight end and get a jam on him. So he's just going to get hands on him, disrupt his route, and then maybe he does have a pass drop. But what happens is this tight end stays in to block. they're running a max protection and only running three wide receiver routes. So if they're only going to run 3 routes, we don't want to drop 8 guys into coverage, right?
Right.
Those aren't good numbers. We would rather be able to have an opportunity to get after the quarterback. So if this tight end stays in, now he's going to jam him and then create some kind of a pass rush in case Aaron tries to roll, which we all know that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL are trying to do nowadays. So watch that linebacker at the top as this play starts to develop. His eyes are right there through the tight end. As soon as he steps up into a pass blocking situation, he's going to jam him, make sure there's no late release, and then he's going to try to get after the quarterback. So he jams him, no late release, sees Aaron in the pocket, and now we can get that extra rush in case he tries to break the pocket. So it just adds a little bit, these little things that you can do with having a linebacker there instead of a defensive end. Not only does it make confusion for the quarterback, but it also, for the defensive play caller, it gives you more opportunities to throw different things in. So that's what the box looks like. The coverage, again, so Kevin, you see 2 high safeties. What coverage are we thinking here?
Cover 4?
Trick question. So it's a split field coverage. So it's split field. You can tell that because these guys look similar, right? From pre-snap.
Right.
One's a little bit deeper than the other. So it looks like there's going to be some kind of movement pre-snap. But this corner is off at 5, whereas Jalen Ramsey is up pressed, right?
Yeah.
So he's up and pressed. So most of the time in press, you're either in cover 2 because you only have the flat, or you're in man-to-man because you're just going to run with him. So it looks like split field coverage. Basically what you do is you take a line down the middle of the field. Everyone on this side is running something. They're right here. It looks like they're running cover 3. And everyone on this side is running something different. On this side, they're running cover 1. So you have 2 different coverages going on at the same exact time. What it does is if you have a guy like Jalen Ramsey, he doesn't have to run cover 3 just because this guy sucks at cover 1. You can now take away their best. You can take away their best receiver, and then you can still help out your other corner that maybe isn't as good and can't run with that guy. So as the play starts to develop, I'll show you how it kind of looks differently. This safety is going to roll down. This corner is going to be man-to-man running with Devontae the whole way through. And so you can see the 2 different sides of the field, they're running completely different things. He is spying to look for this running back trying to come out to this side because they're in man-to-man. So he's looking for this running back coming out here. And if he doesn't get it, then he's going to sit and spy. Over here, you can see they're all in zone. If he was in man, he'd already be snugged up. He's off in case this guy runs any type of a 7 corner route. He needs to be able to get over the top of it. I think what happened here, and the reason this hitch was so wide open, is their star, Joe Johnson, did not jump underneath and play the flat like he should in cover 3. He got eyes to the seam and got sucked in. So Aaron took the hitch right away. But you can see how this side they're in man-to-man, this side they're in cover 3 is what it looks like because this safety runs down last second. So all that stuff going on in seconds to see what kind of a defense we're running is when you, unless you're playing these elite level quarterbacks, you can get guys, you can catch guys making bad decisions and hopefully create turnovers.
Wow.
Any questions?
No, the split field is interesting.
Who was on the Green Bay that ran up the middle that is in that middle linebacker territory? What position was that?
That was this tight end right here.
Oh, so they were running 2 tight ends?
Yep.
Okay,
well, no,
gotcha.
It looks like they have 2 tight ends on this side.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know if he's covered. So the way eligibility works, so this guy out here would be your eligible receiver because he's off the ball.
Right.
Since he's off the ball, that means this guy is an eligible receiver as well. But if he's on the line of scrimmage, then this guy becomes an ineligible wide receiver. If you're covered up by one of your teammates, so if this guy's, say this receiver accidentally lined up on the line of scrimmage up here, all of these guys inside of him would be ineligible.
Ooh,
None of them can go out for a pass. Just like on this side, he's on the line of scrimmage, so the next guy in is not eligible to go out for a pass. So I think what they did is they just ran overload here to try to sell the run, and then he takes off upfield, and then you're trying to catch that tight end, and they like they did here, they get that quick hitch to the outside.
Gotcha, because it looks like it's the inside guy that breaks through. Yeah, because the outside linebackers jamming that tight end.
The outside tight end. So what they did is they say this guy's now off the ball, almost like a wing. So he's still an eligible receiver. So they had 1, 2, 3 eligible here. It just happens that 2 of them are tight ends.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Well, and that's I mean, on an offensive side, with us having people like Jared Cook, Donald Parham, possibly seeing some of those multiple tight end type plays. Very
Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, hey, Coach, another great classroom. Thank you so much.
You're
for
welcome.
giving. I mean, for those of us that are like, I need pictures in my book. That's what Coach's classroom is for, folks. It gives you the visual representation. So if you're listening on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you're probably scratching your head going like, I can't see. Come to YouTube, folks. Check it out on YouTube because Coach is going to break it down to you toot sweet. All right, folks. That's another Coach's classroom in the books. Thank you so much for sticking around with us for another Friday episode of Charger Chat. And again, keep your eyes peeled for our next episode. We're going to be dropping some pretty big news for the Charger Chat. Again, I don't want to give it, I don't want to give away the farm, but I promise you, those of you that have been fans of us, and we cannot express how much we love and appreciate that. Those of you guys that are fans, there's going to be some pretty special stuff coming out on Tuesday. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But until then, folks, don't forget to bolt up because we're ready for any squad, any place. K-Love you, bye!
And now, a word from our sponsors.
When you need pizza and you need it now, call on Hayre Pizza. We know you've got a talk show to host, and if you're anything like Tony Kornheiser, you need that pizza now. Look no further than Hayre Pizza. We'll get that pizza to you when you need it or your money back. Hayre Pizza. Pizza worth reporting about.